Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. John Kelly, Profiler here, and welcome. Welcome to part 4 of our continuing series, a very sad series, on who killed Abby and Libby. We're talking about Abigail Williams and Libby German up in Delphi, Indiana. It's a very, very sad series that we're doing, but we need to put the word out there. We need to keep them alive, and we need to find the guy that killed them. And when we find him, we need to put him in a cage so he can't kill anybody else. And then we'll take it from there, I guess. The authorities up there will handle that. With that being said, I have to bring out that everybody's innocent to proven guilty in a court of law. No question about it. And with that being said, today's focus in our series is people of interest. Harvey Carroll and his group sent something very interesting to us. They sent us a very interesting person of interest by the name of Garrett Kurtz. Garrett Kurtz has just been arrested not too long ago for homicide and torture of Nicole Bowen. She was 30 years old. So with Garrett Kurtz running around the area and not too far away from Delphi, and from this information, he's a sadistic murderer, who tortured and killed Nicole Bowen, or he's been charged for it. He's innocent of proven guilty. I mean, we have to really look at him as a major person of interest. Supposedly he had ties to Delphi. He's been through Delphi, knows the area. That's what we understand. He's a person of interest who has to be eliminated by law enforcement if they haven't eliminated him already. But when you have this kind of person who's been charged with murder and torture, I mean, that's a predator that really, really has to be looked at and eliminated here. No question about it. Then, of course, we have the usual suspects. We've got Thomas Bruce. He's up on murder charges. He seems to be a definite sexual predator. We have to take a look at him. He needs to be completely eliminated. Then we have Charles Eldridge. He's one of my favorite because he focuses on young girls. He's been arrested for molesting not too long ago, for molesting young girls. Now, that's a pretty far jump from murdering 2 young girls, but still in all, this is how it rolls. A lot of these guys, who get looked at for molesting, are very interested in getting rid of their witnesses and ended up murdering girls if they're in a safe, out-of-the-way place and can get away with it. Lots of times it can be witness disposal. Lots of times it can be part of their murderous sexual ritual. And so with Charles Eldridge, we're going to wait and see. We'll see if more will be revealed on him and Thomas Bruce. Last week I talked a lot about abusive childhoods and different dynamics that these sexual predators usually have, and most of them being abused themselves in their own childhoods growing up. What I want to bring out to you, and I think is very important here, is that not everybody that gets abused in childhood is going to become a murderer. I mean, the vast majority of people that get abused in childhood will not become violent people and will not become murderers. However, there's that select few where we have perfect storm of genetics and child abuse come together that perpetuates a murderer or a serial killer. And we've seen this in just about every sexual predator we've come across. That this is the making of the monster, if you will. It all starts in childhood. Genetics can play a role, but it seems this all starts, in the dysfunctional home, dysfunctional abusive home. Now, a couple people that we've also looked at over the years, for instance, like Henry Lee Lucas, who's killed a number of people. grew up in an extremely abusive home. And we also have many others. You know, when you look at Edmund Kemper, who's been on TV a lot, different shows with the FBI on TV. I mean, he's been extremely abused growing up. Both of these guys ended up killing their mothers that they felt extremely abused them and emasculated them growing up. So those are two names that are infamous as far as sexual predators go. Edmund Kemper was the co-ed killer from California that altogether killed 10 people. And then we have Henry Lee Lucas. Nobody knows how many people he killed. And he ran with a guy you might be familiar with, Otis Toole, who John Walsh believes abducted and killed his son, Adam. And, cut his son up, cut the body of his son up and disposed of his body. So, you've got Henry Lee Lucas growing up in an extremely abusive family. Horrendous abuse he suffered. He got his eye knocked out by his mother with a broomstick. I mean, Otis Toole and a severe alcoholic family. And, of course, Edmund Kemper, whose mother was a very, very hardcore alcoholic and who he eventually killed and cut her head off, and then turned himself in, called the police on himself. And let me also bring out that Edmund Kemper had an IQ of 145 back in the day, so he was no dummy. The other thing I want to bring out is that it's important to understand the best indicator of present or future behavior is past behavior. So if you've got a person of interest who's been involved in antisocial behavior, and it can be trying to molest, girls or children, and also if you take into consideration there might be cruelty to animals, there might be some arson involved. So if you got a person that has that kind of background, would have grown up in a real dysfunctional, abusive family, have some antisocial behavior, breaking, entry, shoplifting, like I said, arson, animal cruelty, beating up siblings, or acting out in a very violent way on other kids, and of course the arson angle, then that's a person that becomes a person of interest and needs to be eliminated, because they usually step up the ladder and evolve. That's why it's very hard for me to believe that a person without any history, without any previous history, would make a move first time out to try and take on two girls, Libby and Abby, at the same time. See, to me, that's somebody that, is either mentally ill or has a considerable history. Has been around, has done this before. And again, not everybody that's abused in childhood will become a serial killer or a murderer, but we know that pretty much every serial killer has been abused in childhood. So be aware of the indicators that go into a sexual predator. And again, I want to go over them one more time. We're talking about arson, animal cruelty, we can, any kind of antisocial behavior, voyeurism, a peeping Tom, if you will, molesting a child. I think this is all important, because I think when we get the guy, when you guys get the guy that killed Libby and Abby, and law enforcement arrests him and puts him away, we're going to say that he's got some history, some real antisocial history in his background. With that being said, I think we always have to remember the girls and why you guys are working as hard as you're working. And by doing what you're doing, until this person is arrested, you're giving them a voice. You're giving the dead a voice because you're constantly stimulating the investigation by talking about it and keeping it out there in the media. Great job. So thank you so much. We really appreciate your comments. We really appreciate your subscriptions. We can't thank you enough. And have a great weekend and stay safe out there. Thank you.